There's one peptide that is a complete physique cheat code, whether you want to build muscle, lose fat, or do both at the same time. And no, I'm not talking about steroids or anabolics that are going to rot your organs away, nor am I talking about some basic protein powder. I'm talking about the most advanced biooptimization tool on the planet today, Tesamorelin Ipamorelin blend. As someone who's tried them all, this is the most cutting-edge advanced peptide combination on the planet. In this video, I'm breaking down everything about this blend, the raw science, my own experience, the experience of others, and answering questions like how much muscle can I really gain? Are there any negative side effects? And what do I need to know before I start using it for myself? So let's get into it. But before we do, it's important to note that I'm not a doctor and nothing I say in this video should be misconstrued with medical advice. If you're going to follow any of the protocols we talk about in this video today, it's important you're only doing so under direct supervision of a medical professional who specializes in peptide therapy. Now, let's get started. Listen closely, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to teach you one critical mistake that a lot of users of this peptide make that completely negate its effects and make it virtually useless. To understand why this peptide blend is so powerful, the first thing you have to understand is the holy grail of human biology, growth hormone. Now, if you're in the fitness community, you've probably heard this phrase before. Growth hormone is often talked about in a bodybuilding setting. A lot of guys take it exogenously, the same way they take things like testosterone replacement therapy, and they inject exogenous or external growth hormone that is not their own into their body. The difference with this peptide blend is that we're not injecting outside growth hormone, or we're not taking any growth hormone that is not already in our body. All we're doing is sending a signal to our pituitary gland to produce more of our own growth hormone naturally. That's the key difference between peptides and exogenous hormones. But what does growth hormone do? Well, it has its hand in a lot of different areas of the body. One of the first and most important that I want to look at is muscle growth. Growth hormone initiates cellular hypertrophy, which is just a fancy way of saying it adds more building blocks to your muscle to help it repair, recover, and grow back stronger and denser. Imagine your skeletal muscle mass as a brick wall. And if you were to never exercise, never give it any wear and tear, it might last, say, 20 years. Then the bricks are going to chip, the cement's going to get damaged, and it's going to come crumbling down. Growth hormone is like adding a new layer of cement. Now, most people go into their old age running out of growth hormone, not having enough cement to keep the wall intact. But for the people that supplement with peptides, they can add new layers of cement, making their wall stronger as they go. Or in this case, making their muscles stronger and recovering better even as they get older and kick the crap out of them. This is why people are finding the ability to build muscle even while in a calorie deficit and losing fat, because the body is being reinforced so much that it doesn't matter that it's not in a surplus. This is also why we typically see some of the most world-renowned athletes have some of the highest IGF levels, because their bodies are so good at repairing the internal structure. Moving into fat loss, your body stores fat cells in little pockets called adipocytes. In order to really lose fat, you have to push that fat out of the cell so that your body can burn it for fuel. This process is called lipolysis. Think of your body fat like a steel bank-sized vault that is filled to the brim with oil. And all you want to do is extract this oil from the vault. Your best method right now is using a hand drill to try to drill through the steel doors to start leaking out the oil. Now, if you were to add in growth hormone, it's like lining the outside of the door with dynamite and blowing the lid off of it to flush all the oil out, releasing directly into the rest of your body so that your body knows to use it for fuel instead of storing it. As you can tell, the physical benefits of growth hormone are undeniable, but what makes it really unique, like acting as a neurological sedative during deep wave sleep. All that means is it's going to help you rest and sleep deeper. It also increases things like collagen synthesis, making your skin tighter, firmer, as well as increasing your hair quality. The list of this compound goes on and on, but for the purposes of this video, I'll condense it. To sum it all up, imagine your body is a master luxury estate that is filled to the brim with amenities, like a nice fancy gate, a big fountain at the front, 2 pools in the back, everything you could imagine. But this house throughout the years gets beaten, battered, and requires tons of maintenance and upkeep. The problem is there's only one maintenance guy around that can help keep this house up. He can't keep up. But when you add in things like extra growth hormone, you're essentially adding in a full crew of people that are going to be able to fix damages to the property, to your body as they come. When everything's fixed and running properly, it makes it much easier to perform our bodily functions as well as have the physical appearance and recovery that we're looking for. Now that we understand the benefits of growth hormone, this is why I believe Tesamorelin Ipamorelin blend is the best version of growth hormone secretion that you can buy. Like I mentioned earlier, Tesa-Ipa is designed to have you produce more of your own natural growth hormone, not take it in exogenously. There's a really key difference there, and it's why I think it performs so much better. But let's break these two peptides down, how they work and why they work well together. Tesamorelin is a chain of 44 different amino acids. It's classified as a GHRH, which stands for growth hormone releasing hormone. Mouthful, I know. The way it produces this growth hormone is it targets your pituitary gland, which is the gland responsible for the production of growth hormone. Now, inside your pituitary gland, you have very small specialized cells called somatotropes. These tiny cells are responsible for manufacturing and packing growth hormone into the body in a usable format. The way I like to imagine it is thinking that my pituitary gland is kind of like a sleepy construction worker who's supposed to be pouring concrete, but he's knocked out cold. Now, the Tesamorelin is the alarm clock that wakes his ass up and gets him back on the job pouring that concrete. That concrete is your growth hormone. And if that stuff doesn't get used, the rest of the structure starts to fall apart. Tesamorelin, believe it or not, is actually FDA approved for a very specific use case, which is reducing visceral adiposity, which is just a fancy term for reducing the dangerous, toxic, hard fat around your liver, kidneys, and other organs that causes the most long-term damage. Tesamorelin suppresses a certain enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which is the main hook your body uses to grab fat out of food and store it viscerally. By blocking this hook, the visceral fat has no way to survive. This is why the peptide is so effective at both building muscle and losing fat at the same time, which most people previously thought could only be done with anabolics and harmful steroids. Now we're seeing a lot of different ways that are becoming accessible to the marketplace. I think it's a beautiful thing. In phase 3 multi-center clinical trials, participants using 2 milligrams of Tesamorelin a day lost upwards of 15 to 20% of their visceral body fat, which is pretty incredible. But that's only one half of the coin. There's still the other side of that blend, which is the Ipamorelin. And in my opinion, this is the most overlooked part of the peptide. A lot of people give all of the credit to Tessa. Although it is the main leading factor, it wouldn't be nearly as effective without its Ipamorelin pairing. And people ask me all the time, well, can I just take the Tesamorelin? You can, you'll still get benefit, but it won't be what you think it's gonna be unless you have the Ipa paired with it. Ipamorelin is a pentapeptide, meaning it's made of 5 different amino acids. Different than Tesamorelin, it is not a GHRH, it is a GHRP. Growth hormone releasing peptide, not a growth hormone releasing hormone. Again, mouthful, I know. Now here's why you want both of them together. Remember how we talked about Tesamorelin as the alarm clock that gets the pituitary starting to work? The Ipamorelin is going to increase the capacity at which the Tesamorelin can operate. Here's what I mean. We talked about the Tesamorelin waking up the security guard so he starts pouring the concrete out. Well, let's say that concrete hole is only 8 by 10. There's only so much that it can allow into that hole before it gets full and completely stops. Ipamorelin takes it from an 8 by 10 and turns it into a 20 by 20, and now we've got a massive landscape that we can use to fill our hole with growth hormone, thus giving your structure, your body, more of the material to work with. In essence, one gets the system started, the other one gives the system room to run. Ipamorelin is also really special in the fact that it doesn't act like some of the older generation of peptides. Most peptides that operate in this fashion would cause massively violent strikes in the brain and other parts of the body, increasing things like stress, cortisol, even prolactin, which can cause all sorts of negative emotional and even physical effects like gynecomastia. Don't even get me started on things like the water bloating, the intense hunger pains, all of the things that come from typical GHRPs all get mitigated when it comes to Ipamorelin. So, and several counts of public medical literature actually cite the fact that across a wide base of users of Ipamorelin, it releases tons and tons of growth hormone with a 0% increase in cortisol. So it's exactly as effective as they say it is without any of those negative side effects. And it's exactly why I think these two together create the optimal blend, because it's the best version of each side of the growth hormone pathways brought into one. Now look, if you follow this page, you guys know I have tried just about everything there is out there. People ask me about things like CJC IPA, things like Hexarelin, things like IGF-1 LR3, GHRP2 and 6. I am telling you guys, I have not had a better experience than what I have with Tesamorelin Ipamorelin blend. It is undoubtedly the best results that I get in terms of what I'm looking for, which is an aesthetic, lean-looking physique with a copious amount of muscle mass. And it does it in what I believe is the healthiest fashion possible. It is important, if you're going to do anything growth hormone related, you take a blood test first. I cannot stress this enough. There are an ungodly amount of people on platforms right now just randomly buying growth hormone secretagogues, having no idea what their IGF levels are. Having IGF levels that are too high is also incredibly dangerous. It is not just about low and bringing them up. It's not more is more. This is the number one thing that I warn against in all things performance medicine. Just like testosterone, you don't want 5,000 tests, right? Like there's not too many advantages in comparison to having like 1,200 and 5,000. But some of these guys just want to do more. And that's why a lot of people in this industry end up dying when they're young. So it's about finding the optimal level, and that is what I will always preach until the day of my death. If you are in the optimal range, you are in better physical shape than 99.999% of the entire population. But for the guys that want to step on stage and compete in Mr. Olympia, they have their own methods, and I'm completely aware of what they're trying to achieve. It's just not what I'm trying to achieve, nor do I think it's what most people that watch my channel are trying to achieve. So when I'm bringing you guys this message, I'm always talking about the healthiest way to get as jacked, good looking, well rested, well recovered as possible. Underlying message, make sure you guys are getting some type of blood work done before you do any sort of GH releasing peptide, because this is how a lot of people make mistakes. Now, obviously I have my own platform where you can get this done. I don't care if you go through me, I don't care if you go through somebody else, but please just get this done and don't end up as another statistic. Second, as promised, there are some really important notes about how to use this properly so you actually get the benefits. There's one thing to understand about how any sort of growth hormone peptide works, and that's that you have to be fasted when you take it, and you should stay fasted for at least 2 hours afterwards. There's a lot of conflicting information on the internet. I am telling you, I have done these myself and I know how they work. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, if the goal is fat loss, is taking the Tesamorelin Ipamorelin blend first thing in the morning, because by that point, you have slept for 7-8 hours, however long you sleep, you are fasted. A lot of people on the internet will tell you to take this at night because of its rest and recovery benefits. Yes, it is good for that, but the overwhelming majority of people are not going to be at least 3 hours fasted if they're taking it right before bed. For example, if you go to bed at 10 p.m., that means you cannot eat later than 7 p.m. ever. Otherwise, you've completely negated its effects. You've just wasted your money. Even that is a bit of a cut, because if you're eating large meals, it's going to take you longer to digest that. The main reason for this is that food counteracts with the same pathways that produce growth hormone itself. So you're going to be trying to take this peptide without giving your body the ability to even process what it's trying to do. I found my most success from going to bed. Now, I stop eating around 7 p.m. anyway. I intermittent fast usually every day. I usually go from either 12 to 6 or 1 to 7, indifferent of the growth hormone. But then I will be fasted for now roughly 12 hours by the time that I wake up. I don't eat anything until about noon. So if I take my Tesa-Ipa around 7 or 8 o'clock when I wake up, I've got 4 hours of uninterrupted production. Now, the half-life of the drug doesn't technically last that long, but it upregulates that fat-burning pathway, and I want that to be active for as long as possible. But anything like insulin or high protein or any carbohydrates are going to disrupt that pathway and negate the effects of the peptide. So take it from me, I have put a lot of people onto this, and every single one of them who was taking it at night before, every time comes back and says, holy cow, I didn't think it was going to work this good. If the more you go on the internet and you listen to these specialists or gurus or whoever, there's just not many people that I see have the experience with peptides to have success with them. And it boggles my mind, because like I'm having to figure this out for myself just by experimenting on myself. And then from what I learn, I teach other people to do the same. And then I gather more and more data. I hate that that's what I have to do, but there's just nobody I see out there that really nails this stuff. And it bothers me, but someone's got to do it, right? Let me backtrack a little. I do think there actually are a couple people that are pretty good when it comes to this stuff, and a lot of them have experimented like myself. What I really mean to say is, if you look this information up online or on AI, you're gonna get a bunch of crap, and it's only pulling from the overall consensus. The overall consensus is crap. So what I mean to say is, I would prefer to learn from people who have tried a lot of this stuff themselves so that I can just know what actually happens, not what happens in theory. Okay, moving on. Next piece of this, make sure you are hitting your protein and carbohydrate goals. Might sound counterintuitive to what I just said, but this is going to really amplify the way that your body uses specifically carbohydrates. It increases what is called nutrition partitioning, which is my favorite effect of all peptides, because it just makes your body use carbohydrates more for muscle growth and energy and completely removes them from fat storage. We talked a little bit about how this process works earlier. When you are reaching your full amount of carbs per day and it all just goes to muscle, you would not believe how quickly you blow up. And it's so cool to see it because it doesn't come with fat. With this as well, I would also add in a ton of hydration and electrolytes just to keep the body powered enough cellularly to make sure this process can continue to happen. Now, I could also go down my full cellular rabbit hole, but that's a video for another time. So if you found this video interesting and you like finding more ways to improve the human body in any way, shape, and form, that's all I post about on this page. So what I would do if I was you guys, hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new video and you can always stay up to date. And I will see you guys in the next one.